No, it's a one-wheel peel. But there are worse things in life to overcome than traction. And that is this thing's biggest problem, traction. It has none, okay? It has none. You lay into it anywhere in first gear and it just spins the tires. Barks them really hard on second. Traction is a big deal. So I got this thing running Wednesday morning and I beat it up around the area here. It just feels great. My hunch about this combination being the thing to work with was dead on. Don't listen to anybody. Okay, don't pay attention to road tests, road test times. You know, they're not really drivers, okay? Don't listen to anybody who ever only drove a four-wheel drive version of this or an automatic version of this. Listen to me, 4-liter, two-wheel drive, 4-liter, 5-speed. It's the way to go. The transmission in this thing is the AX15. So it's the same one that Toyota put behind the 2JZ in a bunch of different applications. It's a tough transmission. I know, because I've been beating the living snot out of it for like the last 2 days. It takes a licking and keeps on ticking. It has a 3.83, nearly 4-to-1 first gear. So the torque multiplication is just insane. And then it's got a nice step down to second gear, and the engine just stays in its torque, you know. So I got it running Wednesday morning. Well, little parts came in. Still need an alternator. It's not charging. I need an alternator. I ordered that. Should be in today or tomorrow. So Kiwi and Dr. Art come over on Wednesday to do a Wednesday night live, and he says, guys, take this thing for a rip, tell me what you think. So Kiwi's the first thing, he gets in it, right? And I hear him disappear off into the area, and I'm hearing like screeching all the way out, right? So he comes back, he's got this big smile on his face. He says, that thing is faster than it has any right to be. I says, I know, right? So then Dr. Art gets in it, and the same thing, right? I hear him off in the distance, eek, bang, eek, right? He comes back. I says, what do you think? He says, it's got something. You got something to work with here. I says, all right, so what do you think it'll do with a tune? What do you think a tune is worth? So he says, easy 40 horsepower. Okay, right? Easy 40 horsepower, he says. So now, 40 horsepower at this thing's supposed weight would put us right in the 13s with traction. It's 240 horsepower or thereabouts, 240, 250 horsepower, 3,100 pounds with me on the starting line. Almost 3,200 pounds. It'll get us right there. Traction is its biggest issue. I'm not sure exactly how I want to overcome that yet. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to put a sure grip in it. I'm not going to weld Spyder gears because I want to keep this thing completely drivable. But it looks like Mission Improbable is a lot less improbable than it originally appeared to be. So, like I said, it's tuned. It's tuned as basically an off-road vehicle. And, you know, that's the thing. I think that's why these things haven't really been noticed from a hot rod standpoint. Because who looks at a Jeep Cherokee and says, oh man, I could burn rubber with that? Right away, everybody wants to lift them and put 33-inch tall tires and go off-roading and lights and winches and all the other stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But this particular combination, the lightweight two-door, two-wheel drive, 4-liter 5-speed, is way more muscle car than it is off-roader if you give it a chance. And I think that's the problem with this. Nobody ever really gave it a chance. Who looks at a Jeep and says, yeah, let's go street race this thing? It has gobs of potential. And now that I've run around a little bit and I've gotten a feel for it, I don't think I have to go nearly as drastic. Because originally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna delete the AC. I'm gonna, you know, gut anything that's unnecessary off. The AC works. AC blows ice cold. I haven't charged it or anything. It's held the charge the whole like 10 years since this thing sat. So my original plan was, yeah, let's just gut it and turn it into a party time only vehicle. But no, as it turns out, I don't think I have to. I think I can leave this thing completely intact. Get rid of a couple of small things here or there, maybe 75 to 100 pounds worth of stuff that's just kind of like along for the ride, and leave everything else intact. The only deviation from dead stock on this thing right now is I bought it without a cat. Somebody had stolen a cat out of it. So the first thing I did was I straight piped it, right? So this is good enough. It sounded like hell. I really didn't like the sound. It had a weird tone. So I had a glass pack laying on a shelf. So I said, let me just stick this glass pack in there and see what it sounds like. Oh, it sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful inside and out, right? It's like a Jaguar, right? It's great. It's great. I'm not going to keep the glass pack in there because it's out of the spirit. Remember, this is supposed to be 100% factory parts. So I will put a stock muffler, the lowest restriction stock replacement muffler I can find for this. Glass pack is kind of, I mean, it's great the way it is. But again, see, I'm going to stay within the spirit, no aftermarket parts. In the meantime, I'll just enjoy the way this thing sounds. It has no deficiencies other than it's tuned for a combination of emissions and economy. And like Dr. Art says, if he gets in there and starts moving things around, he can unleash 40 or 50 extra horsepower. That's 240 total horsepower. 3,100 pound car. 4-to-1 first gear. It's just, all it needs is traction. All it needs is traction. So for right now, like I said, so I'm waiting for the alternator. It should be in today or tomorrow. I'm going to get this thing to a track ASAP. There is one thing that in my mind, I'm like, okay, so typically all of our local tracks are 8th mile. Everything here is 8th mile. The closest quarter-mile track is Bowling Green. It's 100 miles north of us. So basically, since we started doing this channel, we've been running at 8th mile tracks and then using conversion times, because the conversion times are actually very, very close. They may not be close on this, and I'll tell you why. It's a relatively low horsepower combination, but it's going to push a lot of wind. And so while it makes gobs of torque downstairs and in the mid-range, and it really does. Well, you know, it's tuned. You can see the engine is tuned for torque, right? I mean, look at the length of the runners over here on the intake. And it's got a factory header. So it's like a tri-wide design. So it's really intended for torque. And I don't see this engine really making any power upstairs. It has a hard rev limiter right now at about 5,100 RPM. Actually, that's how I know when to shift. When I hear the rev limiter, just cut everything out, bang the gear, right? It could probably make power probably another 400 or 500 RPM. I don't see it going anywhere near 6,000 RPM in a stock trim. So I figure 5,500 or so is going to be the max. So I know that our 60-foot times are going to be accurate and convertible to quarter mile, and probably the 330 foot. To the 8th, it's going to be the same. Okay, obviously, right? Quarter mile, 8th mile to the 8th mile is going to be the same. But I think that once you get past the 8th in this particular combination, because again, you know, it's a relatively small 6-cylinder pushing a very unaerodynamic brick. I think from the 8th mile to the quarter, there will be a significant difference in time. So like I said, I don't think in this particular case that those 8th to quarter mile conversion times are going to be very accurate. But we'll find out. There's only one way to find out. We'll do all of our initial break-in, you know, just our baseline passes and minor modifications on an 8th mile track, but we're not going to base our result on incrementals. We're actually going to have to literally take this thing to Bowling Green. We'll probably go to, what we'll do is we'll go to the Mo Party at Bowling Green in September and run it there. And hopefully by that point we'll have it sorted enough traction-wise, power-wise, and everything else that we'll be able to meet our goal. But it's going to be fun. It's fun just the way it is. Like I says, don't listen to anybody who tells you that this thing can't be a friggin' absolute hoot. If you've only driven automatic, or if you've only driven a 4-wheel drive version of this, you have no idea what this basic combination feels like. It is just absolutely fun. And they're cheap. Go get one. Seriously, you're looking for a budget muscle car type of thing that you can really play with and have fun with. It's just cheap. Our total investment in this thing so far is $1,650. We're going to have, I think the alternator was like another 105. So far we're into this for less than $2,000, way under $2,000, and you could duplicate it, no problem. All right. In the meantime, though, I have to. Okay, so she's up next. Propane motor goes in this week coming, and tonight we're taking Sledgehammer to the track. I really wish we were taking this to the track instead. Actually, I think I may just sneak off without Kathy and run out to Buffalo Valley tomorrow night and get a couple of baselines on this, providing I get an alternator first. All right, that's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.